Hey everyone, it is Rachel and I am here with another scrapbooking layout for you. Forgot the word scrapbooking. Wow, that's a first. Okay. All right. I am once again back working with a sketch from Scrapbook Generation. I know I've said this every single time I do one of these videos, but just in case someone is brand new and has never watched a video of mine, I do want to explain what I'm doing. I'm on a message board and we are working our way through the free sketches that Scrapbook Generation offered when they had an online magazine called Create a couple of years ago. You can still get the sketches on their website. They have them all there. You just have to quote unquote purchase them, but they're free and then you can download them. And here is the sketch. I didn't print it out, so I just got on my Kindle here. So you can see it's got three 3x4 photos. I'm actually going to be working with two 3x4 photos and one 4x4 photo. But I thought it would give the same idea without... I'd be able to get the same look on the sketch without making a lot of changes. Wow, words, those are awesome. All right. So when I looked at these photos that I had, these are not my photos. These are my housemates' photos. I did not go to this. I was out of the state. So this is at a Renaissance fair. We had actually gone to the Renaissance fair 2 weekends before. We have friends who perform in it. So she had gone back with my nephew. The day we went, it was raining. I mean, it wasn't pouring rain when we were there in the morning, but it was cold and windy and damp and it was misting, and so they weren't able to do the bird show. So the woman who runs this, for those of you who have perhaps issues with animals in captivity and stuff like that, this is actually a bird rescue. All of her birds are birds that she has rescued from situations. Either they were injured in the wild or someone tried to keep them as a pet and was unsuccessful. So she runs a rescue and rehabilitation center, and she does things like this as part to make money to keep her rescue going. So it's the type of thing I'm good with, because you need money in order to do things, and the birds are well taken care of. And so, and she's an educator as well of the people who come, and she talks about things like what you shouldn't do to birds, and whether or not you should touch a bird or grab, or if you think a bird has been abandoned, a baby bird or anything like that has been abandoned, or stuff like that. So, all right, folks, I'm going to get you put on fast forward and get started with this layout. I hope you guys are going to have fun enjoying watching it, and see you in a bit. All right. Okay, so I had to cut a bit out of my introduction, the part where I talk about that this is for Work the Line, my series with Kelly Oblak, where we both work on the same, work with the same line of paper. In this case, it is the Zoey collection from Felicity Jane. There was a really obnoxious car alarm going off in the back, and I didn't realize it when I was doing the introduction. Apparently, I was so focused on talking, I did not realize the giant beeping in the back of my video. All right. Anyways, so I'm going through and picking out, and I really was drawn to this floral for this particular layout. It just really struck me as just being perfect for this layout. So I'm going to choose that one along with this yellow cardstock that comes in the Zoey kit. Now, since Felicity Jane has started, the collection of the pattern paper pack, which is what I purchase rather than purchasing the entire kit, as I mentioned. I don't know, actually, I might have cut that out as well because of the car alarm. I buy the paper packs. I do not purchase the whole kits. So it used to be that you would get a piece of sticker sheet that you would have to fussy cut out stickers. She has now moved on to die cuts in order to, I believe, well, I'm assuming, I haven't chatted with the lady personally, but I would assume she's now including the colored cardstock in the paper kits instead of the stickers because she's not charging any less for them. If that makes any sense. If not, I'm very sorry. So anyways, I trimmed the cardstock piece off to include that scallop at the bottom rather than trimming that off. And then I cut out 3 pieces of pattern paper. One is this multicolor pinstripe, and then 2 of the floral pieces. Now, in the sketch, none of the photos are matted, but I decided I really wanted to matte this central photo. I just think it's a lovely photo that my housemate took. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the striped paper and I'm putting the photo at an angle, so that way my matte is a diagonal stripe paper rather than a horizontal stripe. And that's just a personal preference. I don't necessarily really like matting photos with a vertical or horizontally striped paper when it just bothers me. I don't even know why. It just really does. It's just one of those things, like for some people they have to have string in their tag. Some people, they can't do cream and white together. You know, for me, I don't like using a vertical or horizontal stripe as a mat. Okay, so I've taken out my T-square ruler and I'm just using that to line up the left-hand side of my paper so they're all straight. And of course I can't manage to do that even with the T-square ruler, so I have to pull my photo off and re-straighten it out. I've turned this around just because my paper doesn't reach to the corner of my mat, so in order to do the top piece of pattern paper, I just need to flip it over. Once I get that done, I like the way that is looking. I'm just going to flip it around and line up my other photo on the right-hand side so it's all lined up there as well. And then I'm just going to kind of overlap that middle photo over the other 2, basically because they're supposed to butt up against each other in the sketch, but because I added that mat, it added a little bit of width to my layout. Now, I need to do the little horizontal stripe across the pattern papers that's in the sketch, and I consider using branding strips. For my Felicity Jane branding strips, I just keep them in the bag. I tend not to throw them away unless I know I won't use them, like if they're just something like bows. I'm never going to keep one with bows because I hardly ever use bows. It's just not something that floats my boat. So I usually end up recycling those. But other than that, I tend to just keep them because I keep all of my Felicity Jane together in one big old bag. I am using some Scotch tacky glue I got that at Michael's, and then I put a fine line cap on it. And I know people are always like, oh my gosh, how do you get it not to get glued shut? And I got this glue actually from Kelly, my series collaborator for this, is just to add a little bit of water to your glue, and it works perfectly. It does not water down the glue. All of my stuff is still stuck, so yippee yay. So while I'm going through the die cuts and pulling out things I think might work for this particular layout, like I know I want to do a banner in the upper left-hand corner like there is in the sketch, I'm just going to make sure you guys go over and check out Kelly's take on using the Zoey collection from Felicity Jane. It's so much fun to see how even working within the same collection, our layouts will look so different, and you can get a different feel for it depending on your subject and how you use what you have. Alright, so I've decided on these yellow roses because it's hilarious. I am not a super floral girl, but these just totally called to me, and I'm like, well, since I'm going to use the paper, I'm going to go ahead and use the die cuts as well. Now, I'm building my banner, and once I build it and I go to glue it down, I do just cut away, just because basically it's me doing the exact same thing of laying it down, only with glue. So I'm alternating between the longer pieces and then the shorter pennant pieces, and that scallop black and white piece I'm going to lay that across the top of it. So that's why I have that up above. I'm just making sure I have pieces that reach that full length. So I've got, as I said, the little mini black and white, which I didn't mention before, but the paper that's the little skinny strips above and below, those have a mini black and white polka dot, and because I knew I wanted to use those banner pieces, that's actually the reason I decided to choose that paper. That is actually the back side of the yellow flower paper. All right, I have that all down. I have where my embellishment clusters are going to go. I consider adding that scallop piece, but nope, too dark. And then I think about using that yellow heart, and I don't remember if I end up using that or not. I do know I want to use these two label die cuts for my journaling, but no, I don't end up using that yellow heart. And what I'm also going to use are these die cut sequins. Now in the sketch, there's some sort of embellishments coming down that right hand side, and I decide that these sequin die cuts will work perfectly for that. I'm going to add them down there, and then I'm also going to add them in two of the other embellishment clusters as well. Once I get that all done, I am going to start gluing all of those down, and because they actually do have a hole in the center, I am just going to go ahead and use my liquid glue. Now, you may have noticed I don't have a title yet. You can always tell by my layouts whether I'm having trouble with the title. If I start embellishing before I do the title, I'm seriously debating as to which title to go with. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to call this layout, so that's why I'm embellishing first. I knew what the story was, and I even knew like what I wanted to call it. I just actually wasn't sure what alpha to use. These aren't colors I normally work with. I don't really even have any yellow. I think maybe these navy ones, but then I'm thinking, wait, there really isn't any navy in this layout. I don't even know what possessed me to think navy in the first place. So those are going to go away. See, I'm even to the point where I'm trimming off papers from my layout before I start working on my title. I do decide to go with these green ones. These are an older Amy Tangerine thicker, and they're a foam thicker. And then I also grabbed these black Ellie Studio alphas. And so I'm going to use two of these in conjunction to make my title of Beautiful Birds, because I finally decided, you know what, that's just what I'm going to call it. You know, I try to be clever, but sometimes the clever doesn't work out all that well. So I'm going to start this and cut ahead to the end of the word because it gets a little repetitive. Once I get that down using the Ellie Studio, I am going to do the birds in that green font. Now you'll also notice I pulled out that owl flare. I have a little container that holds flare, and I have about 5 that have owls on it. And finally I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna not waste a chance to use one of these suckers on a layout about birds. Alright, I go to do my journaling, but someone has used my slick writer on a regular paper and it has gotten all wonky. So I'm going to have to go back and finish my journaling later. So last thing I'm going to do, no, not the last thing I'm going to do, but one more thing I'm going to do is add a dimensional to that flare. And then I have to re-glue one of my sequins. And now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my enamel dot box and add a scattering of enamel dots all over my layout. Rather than my normal groups of 3, I scatter them in the same areas of the die cut sequins just to kind of emphasize that. So I start off with these yellow ones. Now on camera they look fine, but in real life they were too lemony. They just didn't work. So instead I decide on, I pull the pink and the green from this set here, and this is just a generic set I got somewhere. I have 0 clue as to where. And then after I pull the pink and blue from this set, I go into another set of, I believe it's Simple Stories, Sunshine and Happiness. I think that's what it's called. Happiness and Sunshine, something like that. And those are the yellows I choose. And
Now see, on camera, looks a bit darker. In real life, perfect color. Just goes to show you. Alright folks, that is going to finish off my layout for today. Please make sure you go on over and check out Kelly's take on using Zoey from Felicity Jane. Bye everyone!